In a somewhat shocking move, after 6 years leading UCLA football, Chip Kelly is allegedly taking a demotion by leaving the Bruins to serve as Ohio State's offensive coordinator under Ryan Day, a guy he actually used to coach. Good afternoon. I'm James the Faithful Angelino Sports with a special report. UCLA football in turmoil and having to find a new head coach. Kelly had been linked as an offensive coordinator to as many as 3 NFL gigs less than 2 months after school administrators had backed the embattled coach. It was a very strange move in that sense. The move, however, is not yet official, but you may as well consider it official because it was met with the perfunctory thank you tweet from UCLA Athletic Director Martin Jarmond. Details are obviously still coming in. Kelly will replace Bill O'Brien, who left Ohio State to become the head coach over at Boston College. He, like Kelly, he originally left the Buckeyes in a lurch because O'Brien was hired to be the offensive coordinator over at Ohio State in January alone. The immediate impact for UCLA, players are now given a 30-day transfer window if they choose to leave another team. UCLA could be left in shambles by this move. Now, by the way, the reason that we can also say that the move is not yet official, UCLA is entitled to $1.5 million back from Kelly. We would presume that that check will be scratched by Ohio State. Until we hear Kelly's side of the story, and we have to be fair and allow him to eventually give his side of the story, the entire thing sounds like a complete screw job for the Bruins football program. Kelly was clearly unpopular. By the end of last year, there were planes circling a nearly empty Rose Bowl. Planes circling with signs asking the athletic department to fire Kelly. Kelly's record overall was 35-34 with just one bowl victory. Yet even worse, his 7-year tenure looked from a guy who would be on the outside, a guy like me, for example, like Kelly was a man who was simply sucking the marrow out of the program like a parasite. Kelly was a poor recruiter for the Bruins. For example, his last high school recruiting class was ranked 85th in the nation by 24/7 Sports. That recruiting class ranked down there with some of the so-called cupcake schools that Kelly had scheduled at the beginning of the year. For example, Coastal Carolina had a better recruiting class to 24/7 Sports than UCLA. It was also ranked next to last amongst Big Ten schools that were returning their head coach. Moreover, Kelly rewarded his friends while he was at UCLA, granting them 6-figure salaries whether they did work on the field or not. For example, a Kelly friend, Ken Niumatalolo, former Navy coach, spent 1 year at UCLA with a make-work title of Director of Leadership. He wasn't even allowed on the field to coach because Kelly had already hired enough people to coach, and yet he granted a friend a 6-figure salary. He parlayed that into another job, a head coaching gig at San Jose State. Since the end of the bowl season, and again, UCLA won their bowl game, 8 assistant coaches left UCLA since a 35-34 LA Bowl victory over Boise State, which is a curious move when you consider that you build your program off of bowl victories, for Pete's sakes. Other ways that Kelly let the program go to seed, he never took advantage of NIL and recruiting, while other schools have. So this is just opinion. I think Chip Kelly just wanted to spend his golden years, he is pushing 60 after all, just drawing up plays and not doing the legwork that is needed to run a major college program. He gave up a salary that would have reached $6 million a year as head coach to demote himself as an offensive coordinator. Why? It's either one of two things. It's either UCLA's backers called him out on his sloth, or he just recognized, hey, I don't need this crap. I'm just going to draw up plays. That's what it seems like to me. I have been asked who would be the favorites to potentially replace him. Most of the names that I'm reading seem like just names thrown against a wall. You have heard players come out. Players have told the LA Times that they would like either Deshaun Foster, a UCLA alum who is currently a Raiders assistant coach. They like him. Same for current defensive coordinator Ikeka Malo. Players like him. But you could also consider the possibility of David Shaw, the former Stanford coach. His son plays wide receiver for the football team. And at Stanford, which also prioritizes academics over athletics, he still managed to get the Cardinal to 10 wins in 5 seasons while he was there. Other names that are being bandied about would include former defensive coordinator DeAnton Lynn, who left the Bruins to go to USC. I don't think that's necessarily a wise choice. We don't know with certitude how much of a recruiter Lynn really is. We just know that he knows how to coach a defense with players that were already given to him. I'm just going to give you one name. And by the way, another name that's being thrown around would be Nebraska defensive coordinator Tony White, a former Bruin player. This would be my choice, and I have no inside dope. I would do whatever it took to go after UNLV coach Barry Odom. Now, I will grant you, Barry Odom was 25-25 over at Missouri, but he guided the Rebels program, a dead-in-the-water Rebels program, to 9 wins and a bowl game in year 1. He's a defensive-minded coordinator, which is great because UCLA does play defense, but he lost his quarterback to USC. Consider the idea of Odom being united with Ethan Garbers, getting a good offensive coordinator, maybe poaching the one from UNLV to run that show. That would not be such a bad idea, all things being equal. Either way, this is clearly the biggest test for UCLA athletic director Martin Jarmond, and this is a poor guy who took over an athletic department that was over $100 million in debt. That's how big Kelly's departure is. Because look, UCLA is a basketball school. There's no doubt about that. But make no mistake, football is the major moneymaker for any college. So to repeat, while not yet official, Chip Kelly is apparently abandoning UCLA at a time when they needed him most to become the offensive coordinator over at Ohio State. Now, if you enjoyed this content, if you enjoyed this clip, don't forget to comment on it. And don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelino Sports. We're talking UCLA athletics virtually every day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow with more information. Faithful Angelinos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.